live.
You are watching the Powder Out Podcast.
And welcome back to the Powder Out Podcast. I am Landfill.
I'm Mr. Shaky.
I am JP.
Hey, welcome here on a Tuesday. Hey, if y'all don't want to be listening to the fancy Mr. President or just catching us on the repeat, we welcome y'all here to Tuesday Night Pop, and yeah, we got some nice stuff on the plate for y'all today. We got some recap of the week. There's been some new stuff that's been happening. I know we got some new champions actually came up to it, and then we got some history class to go over, right? We got a little history to share. I found some interesting shit. I know when I did mine a little bit, so I don't know about Professor Landfill and JP, but we'll see when we get to their classes. So I'm gonna shoot it off to Landfill. Always starts there. Of it. What's starting up on the week that you saw Landfill? You want to share for us there?
Well, I'm going to start with this. Y'all saw that match that went on and what happened between Bianca Belair and Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch is more of a professional than I am, because if she comes swinging that hair at me and left the gas me like that, I'll be yanking that hair right out of her head and chopping it off and feeding it to her. Jesus Christ, did you see the wound that she got from that whip? Jesus. I was watching. I was like, "Oh God, man! I know that don't feel good." That, back in the day, you remember, that people just whip it, them rat tails they call it, just slapping people with it, and that's just like what she's doing with that hair. I would cut it off and feed it to her. Oh man, I don't like that. I don't like that, because I know that the sting of that and the marks that it leaves. I would have to choke her with that. I don't like the hair thing. But anyway, we see a new champion in Finn Balor. That's the United States champion.
Yeah.
Who caught that match? Who was the current champion? Who did he face? What was that match like?
I think it was Damian Priest.
Yes.
Yes.
He's been a champion for like ever. I don't remember the last time he had actually title defense, because every time you see him, I never see him defended on pay-per-view.
Well, I did like the fact that he was champion. I like his style. He's a good wrestler. He's got good technique. I do hope that they build from this, that this loss is to move him on to something else, to put him in another title picture or a good feud somewhere. Because I know, this led from him, with his managing of Bad Bunny, and then Bad Bunny went on and back to his thing, and he worked into the title picture. I do like what they did with them. I hope they do continue to build with them. And as far as several other people that I've said that before in the past, it's just once you get the right groove with your wrestler, you want to keep him on the right track. You want to keep him moving forward. So I hope we don't just see him downslide or forgotten about, kind of.
Pan Fry, yeah. Well, that's why I'm hoping they give a good push with this title with Finn Balor. He needs a good push.
Well, you hadn't quite seen too much with Finn Balor since he went back to NXT.
Yeah.
He did a little. I think he got the NXT Championship once more there, and now he's back on main roster, and I'm glad to see that as well.
Supposedly, what I've heard on the dirt sheets is Ricochet supposedly like the second babyface on SmackDown. Like Vince is really high on him, and supposedly going to get a big push.
Ricochet is a phenomenal athlete.
Oh, he is. I mean, what they did with Cesaro, he got let go, but yet, they need to push somebody that has that ability like Ricochet does. Like Ricochet is one of those, he can flip, he can do anything and make it look cool. Like he
Yeah.
makes it look easy, and it's not.
Well, with Cesaro, I don't know whether it was his proneness to injury. He's been out for a while here and there with shoulder injuries. But what could happen? I don't know. He could go off to another promotion. He may take some time off. Make sure he's good and healed. We may see him come back. You never know. It could be one of those where they let him go, and after a while he comes back like Samoa Joe did, stuff like that.
Well, I mean, look at Matt Cardona. They let him go, and he's blowing up everywhere. He has like 6 titles, and he's the NWA champion as well. This is kind of crazy.
I did hear of a match. I believe it's going to. I don't know where it's going to be yet. It might be in GCW. Being he is the GCW. Isn't he the current GCW heavyweight champion?
No, I think he lost.
Did he lose that? But I did. I heard a rumor of a match. It might be old news or something, but there's a independent wrestler that I like, and he's the Loco Wrestling Heavyweight Champion, Sam Stackhouse. And I heard there might be a match with Sam Stackhouse and Kevin Cardona.
Okay.
Matt Cardona.
Sounds about right. I mean, he's pretty hot right now. I mean, he's done really well for him since he's been outside of WWE. So
yeah, he needed to get out of there. That's for sure.
He was there forever.
It's like and running through like quicksand. I feel like they're just treading, and they think they're trying to go somewhere, and they're not of it. Man, so I just read that Scott Hall. So Scott Hall just broke a hip, and he's in the hospital.
Oh no, that's not good.
Yeah, they said he was just reportedly hospitalized with that broken hip. But he is 63, so.
Well, I heard, I don't know if he's going by X-Pac or Sean Walters, but X-Pac is back, I guess, wrestling.
Yes,
he's medically cleared, and
X-Pac currently where is he at?
India. I mean, he looks really good. Like he's.
I want to say it's GCW as well.
I think so. GCW,
but he's got a tag team partner, and they're doing some work right now. Did y'all see Buddy Matthews? He came out, did some work over in GCW and some other places. But now he is in AEW, and he's part of the faction with Malachi Black and the other guy. Well, what's his face? Malachi's partner that's on his faction that he has.
I don't. I don't really know that one. I haven't watched AEW for a while. I got to get back to it. It's hard because I don't have cable, so I don't get TNT. And unless you watch like YouTube, you don't get the main, Dynamite. You just get the Rampage and then the other show. And it's like, there's so many shows for that. It's kind of hard to watch. Like everybody, like I like it when it's just one show or a couple shows, and then you kind of know who they are and watch it. But when you got like 4 or 5 different shows of like the same company, you're like, who am I supposed to be rooting for?
Right. Right now there's just so much to keep track of and so much to watch. You got Ring of Honor coming in here and there back again. You got Impact. You've got AEW. You've got NWA, WWE, NXT. I mean, there's just GCW is one to watch. There's just so much. And then as far, with the new one that you got, what is that?
Control Your Narratives coming up.
Yes. That one too.
EC3. That's supposed to be a new promotion coming. Him and I think Braun, right? Braun Strowman and somebody else.
Yes. Correct.
And then Cody Rhodes. Now, so this is what I heard. You might have heard something different. I've heard a couple conflicting things that when he got let go, supposedly it's a work, and that he's going to come back in April on their big show, and it's going to be like the biggest work ever. That's what I've heard. But I also heard he's down at the Performance Center too that he might come out WWE at WrestleMania, Cody Rhodes. So he's like this free hot agent that nobody knows exactly what's going on.
He's gonna. That makes more sense. I didn't even think of like the AEW pay-per-view like in April, because he'll pop back in the April one, because I'll make it a huge because they'll have to have some big type of pop there for like that event. But I do want to say, I looked it up. It's kind of interesting. So X-Pac did return back on February 25th, and it was him with Johnny. He's actually going with some good people. Oh, he tag team with Johnny Janela, and they went against the major players, and that's that Brian Myers and Matt Cardona. I wish I would have saw that. And yeah, that's GCW he's in now.
Yeah, like I really like a lot of the indies. They're starting to come up and actually be really good to watch these days. And I mean, with the AEW, how they got that open door with so many of them. I mean,
right?
Yeah, also with like New Japan as well. That's doing well. I mean, it's fun to be a wrestling fan. Like, you don't have to just watch one. You can watch everything else. And that's the thing, is like, you don't have to watch WWE. There's so much more out there right now
well, it's like Impact working with New Japan again. You had the team that is, known as the Bullet Club come back to Impact Wrestling. And you saw some people turn on each other. They kicked out some Bullet Club members, and the good fellas, the Good Brothers, are back in the Bullet Club. Gallows and them, they're back in.
Oh man, it's like,
in which there's so much going on with the Cody Rhodes situation, because you don't know. There's so many rumors going around, because there's you could hear of Cody may still may come back contracted with AEW. He may come back contracted into WWE, but he could be that bridge to bring the both together in some way to feud. There's speculation of him and Shane McMahon come together to make another promotion. That there's so much going around with that. So,
but it's kind of fun. It's finally a guy to give it at least a little spark to something for an imagination at the moment.
Right? I know, that's what I love. Is like, I love just watching wrestling. Like, I hate, like, obviously there's going to be some here and there spoilers, but like, I hate when you're watching it and you already know what's going to happen because you read the dirt sheets. Like, WrestleMania is coming up. I'm not going to read any of the dirt sheets except for like what the matches are, because like, I want to be surprised. I want to know, I just want to know the storylines and just enjoy it. Because like, I know a couple matches, like supposedly Vince McMahon's coming back. I don't know how or what yet. Supposedly Stone Cold's coming back.
No, I'm reading more into him. His is more, you can tell he's more just come back as an appearance. And that's mainly because his brewery, and he's doing like a brewery type thing, like a couple days before. And like,
that's what I read too, yeah.
I think what it is he's gonna manage somebody. Kevin Owens makes the most sense because that's who matches. But I don't think he's gonna in-ring anything. I think he might manage somebody and maybe even go do like a match or two.
I feel like that would like hurt more of his legacy than anything, because he hasn't been in, and it's like, okay, what are you gonna be like? Because you got hurt. You don't know. I feel like if he did get in there and did a wrestling match, it wouldn't be the same Stone Cold. There's no way that you could.
That's why
he hurt his legacy.
Match. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He can't do a match. That's why I think he just needs to manage, because it's still his Stone Cold and him. Like, it's his Mr. Miyagi and shit. Like, he can like Mr. Miyagi Kevin Owens kind of thing.
That's like, it was so bad seeing. Like, I love the guy. Don't get me wrong. I love Bret Hart. But when he came back, he should not have gotten back in that ring. It's just not the same the
Oh, it's
excellence of
sad.
the executioner.
It
It would
almost
just
made
be
me look
like an
sad.
old man in trying to do what he can't do anymore, and it just
What's the name of that wrestler? I think he's still right now over with NWA. He's like 80 something, still wrestling. Along with some the older tag team, one of the older tag teams
like
still
the Rock
wrestling.
and Roll Express or something.
Yeah, it's a singles competitor. He's still going.
Oh,
It's
well,
he
the
just
Rock and
recently
Roll
won a title.
Express looks like your grandpa's trying to wrestle again, and they actually won the NWA tag team titles for the 9th time. It's like,
Yeah,
you look like grandpas. You're supposed to be home with your grandkids, not in the ring there, Grandpa. I think
another
your buddy
thing that
Rogers was
NWA
like,
has going on is the Crockett Cup.
okay, yeah, because like I think even Buddy Rogers, I think he's still going, or he was like semi-retired and still wrestling at like 75 or something. Like these guys are still like super old and still wrestling. Like, dude, you're gonna break a hip, and then that's gonna be it.
Oh, they're just pushing it. I feel like everybody thinks they're just unstoppable.
Look at Edge. Edge is back in there again, and like he's going against AJ Styles, which is great, but like I'm even afraid for him. I'm like, dude, you got that bad neck. You don't want to, screw up your neck, or Daniel Bryan too, or the Hardy Boys. Like the Hardys, they can't do like their old stuff because their bodies are just not. Father Time's catching up with them.
Yeah, it makes it look time, and kind of that actually. I like this. I like this segue. Time starts catching up to him. What about time? I mean, time started somewhere. So, does teacher number one want to teach us? Time got to be going.
Well, that's the thing, time. Wrestling started somewhere. What was the origins of wrestling? That's something that we've been kind of talking about and shooting back and forth with each other. You dating back to the Egyptian times and dating back in long period of time, like 3000 BC, and stuff like that. There's hieroglyphics of Egyptian people in holds and stuff like that. It was said that the Egyptians started wrestling and such as a way to settle differences, as a way to fight over territory, as a way to fight over pride and stuff like that. And it moves on over to the Greek Roman style, how they wrestled and how they started with conflicts. They wrestled over things, and then it was same in the Viking times. They wrestled and they fought and they sparred. If they couldn't settle their conflict and the differences there, well, then they fought to the death. There was types of fighting styles that they would wrestle and grapple and do maneuvers on each other, that they would fight to the death, that they would fight to submission, that they'd come to resolutions with things. And then from this style of just heathenism, moved on to a more professional way of what you see as like the Greco-Roman style, college style, stuff like that has progressed, that you see of more freestyle wrestling and things like that. And then as time goes on, then you get to where wrestling was more kayfabed, when you saw it in circuses and you saw it, being advertised. And then it moves on to being branched off when it comes to the U.S. and stuff like that. There's just a wide variety of interesting things that you can dive off into and really research and talk about and think about when it comes to wrestling and fighting styles. Of everything started from that once the particular wrestling style from back in the day is now martial arts, is now sports entertainment. That's so much stuff that you can dig into from each time period. In which, what y'all come up with?
I got mine is like coming up with I loved in the 1900s going how it was like early 1900s, more or less until like the 1920s, was still like in America, it was professional wrestling when it was normal, just get in the ropes, and it was just seen as it was more or less normal Greco wrestling, but it was also the wrestling we know, but it was seen as actual a sport. And then around the 20s, it's kind of split. Really, around the 1915s is when it started to split. And like Landfill said, then like the carnivals, so when the 20s went, and then they started to go carnival style, the 20s and the 30s, and then that's when it went off and went to factions and went to your branches. And then the other side is when the collegiate made it. And then in 1912 and 15 is now when you have it in the Olympics and the Greco style came. And then the FILA came of the professional wrestling for that side of it. And then like there was even a wrestling style I found that came in the 1930s called Swamp or Samu. That was a Soviet Union wrestling style that then became classified a professional style as well during that time frame, during the wartime. So, and then it grew up a lot, and then it's more or less once it then hit that television. Once television came in the 50s, then it kind of changed. Then it made it another switch, because even then when it switched into like the 30s to like the 50s, and it was that's when I think that was the build of it, was when you started to get the NW, or I can't remember the exact name. That's when
NWA.
you get those branches, and that's when you had the and there it wasn't your WWE covering the whole thing. It was you just had places just had their own. Everybody had their own companies. There wasn't because there wasn't broadcasting. There wasn't everywhere nowadays. I just knew the Northeast, so you would just know my promotion of these 15 towns because that's all I can communicate to in 1948. So you might go win the title here, and then you might drive down to Chicago and win title over there, and which guys did do. Some would go win titles in a couple territories, and then you got to TV where then they got more territories. So then it grew more and more.
Well, and speaking on that, there's you got your televised wrestling and stuff like that, and you got your territories such as your big businesses that is wrestling, AEW, WWE, NWA, stuff like that. But you're really seeing more of the territories coming back and the independents, and that is something you need to keep your eye on. That is something that is going to be huge. These independent wrestling companies that's coming together. That's actually, and some of them are actually working with some of the bigger companies that's televised nowadays. As far as with these territories, these territories are coming back. The independence is really shaking that back, and I'm absolutely thrilled to see that, because you got more of just okay. Well, I'm going to see Roman Reigns again. And I'm going to see
50th time.
I'm going to see Brock Lesnar again.
Brock Lesnar, yeah.
And for a while there's, it's John Cena again. Now you got this thing where, you got these guys wrestling in this area, this area, this area, and this area. Say, the Southeast and you got the Northwest. You got all these different territories, upper state, lower state, different states, different countries. But, they're wrestling their own. They do their own thing. But then you also see them traveling to the different states, to the different territories, fighting to defend the honor of their territory. It's champions going against other champions, like you see with Matt Cardona right now. He's going, branch to branch, winning championships, defending, and branching off like that. So it's really territories again, but it's this community that's the independent circuit that is really just on fire again, and I love seeing that.
And one of the tag teams, like Top Flight, those guys are from Minnesota, there's a cat. I think it's called the Academy, is down in the cities, and like I know a couple people that wrestled. That like, oh yeah, I know these guys. They were on the the Indies for Iowa, for Minnesota. They were on the Indies, and now they're in AEW. But like, yeah, from like 50s to now, I would say 50s to probably like the 80s were almost like the golden era. Like you would see everybody like you say the different territories. A lot of it was just a gentleman's handshake. Like they'd go in, you have your champion, or you have the NWA champion that would come in. A lot of them would have like the NWA champion come in from, wherever the world champion was, would come in to face their top champion, and then they would lose, or they wouldn't lose, but it would be like it'd be title for title. But then at the end, it's a double disqualification and make the champion look good, but then it also make the world champion look good. Also, what they would do too is they would take somebody. So, like, say you're in California and you're hot up there. Well, you'd be 6 months hot up there. Well, you're seeing the same people all the time. They want to see something different. So, if you're hot for 6 months up here, they're going to take you, put you down in like Louisiana or somewhere else to wrestle. Like, I mean, I feel like one of the bigger ones back in the 50s was, the Luthez, Gorgeous George, Pedro Morales. Well, Pedro Morales was a little bit later, but like the Luthez, the Gorgeous George. A lot of them, Gorgeous George was like what kind of Ric Flair is now. He was kind of like that back in the 30s and 50s. He wore, kind of like dresses or dressed up, and he was that heel that people hated. Like that was back then where kayfabe, until like the 80s, kayfabe, like you didn't associate with people outside of like good guys and bad guys. All the bad guys stayed together. All the good guys stayed together, except for in the back or private areas. Like everybody stayed in character. Like that's what's so fun about learning like this stuff. Like
They took it to heart, man.
they did.
They did.
I care.
Really?
It was like, I feel like today it's like, whatever. Shay or like Seth Rollins, he did it. No, it was like they like Sergeant Slaughter kind of thing. Like they took what that character, like you said, that kayfabe, or that if they're a villain, they're a villain.
Well, it's like a perfect example of this would be like Undertaker. Whenever he was out in public, he was the dead man.
Yeah.
He did not come out of his character. He did not go shaking hands. He did not go talking. He stayed blue and dark. He tried to cover his face and get away from the camera. Bob Buckland, anytime, Bob Buckland, even today, if a camera was to show up at his house, he'd go straight back into character. Only way he was out of character is he was at his house doing his own thing, without no cameras. But as soon as anybody involved with wrestling or a camera showed up at his house, he was straight back into character. And that's actually something that that's actually trying to get pushed again in the independents. It's like nowadays, you see on the TV, that's kind of went out the window, but you see it trying to start to fizzle in.
Except for MJF. MJF kind of stays in character a lot. Like I saw something where he almost broke character one time. There was a video of him with this little kid, and the kid goes like this, and like he flips him off. He gets all upset. You're not supposed to do that. And then he takes the kid and puts him over here because he almost like broke character. Because like, kid, you're not supposed to do that. Because he's one of those, he stays in character. Like that's exactly with like same with Andre. Andre would stay in character, but I would always love to see those ones, like the pictures that you see in the back of them, where he's sitting there playing cards with somebody else, or like the pictures of Paul Bearer or what was it?
The BSK.
Yes, BSK. The bones where they're all just like characters. Like even like there's what was it? There was one of like there's a story about X-Pac and Undertaker. They're like, we're here, right? We know the legend. he always had to outdrink or outlast everybody. Like he's sitting there almost ready to pass out, and everybody else is pass out. Then he can leave. Like he was the boss.
Right.
Back then he was the ring general. He had to stay a character. He had to do what he had to do for everybody.
It was different times back then. They lived what they did.
Mhm.
And that's when the best wrestling, the best, sports entertainment was back when they lived what they did. And honestly, only place I really still see that to be 100% true is with sumo wrestling. They live what they do. Every day is training. Every day is conditioning. Every day is competing and ranking up. I don't know y'all's views on sumo wrestling, but I'm a big fan of sumo wrestling as well.
It's because that one I think is because there is some like kind of with that Soviet one that I was looking up is a lot of it's tradition, and I mean like you said, like you read like the Egyptian thing, like even that it's just like how I'm taking care of bringing my like that legacy is that boom, like I am pushing my force down, like there's force behind it. It's more of a story, I think, than just I watch this on TV and I want to be a soap opera star.
Right. Well, in sumo wrestling, everything that you see from the start to finish, it's all about tradition and honor. From when they step into the ring, how they step into the ring is about intimidation and about honor and tradition. How they sprinkle the salts everywhere. That's the prayer of getting in preparation and stuff like that. From the spirits of the past, the one that led the way for. To the way that they sweep it off, I mean, everything is built on tradition, and
they all live in these houses too.
And that you see, Japanese one sumo wrestling or American sumo wrestling, there's tradition and honor there, and they live it. And because when they're doing their training before they reach their brackets. They move away from their families into these dojos and they live there. They live it. They eat it. They breathe it. Yes. And I think that's something I need to talk about one day. Honestly, I love sumo wrestling. It's like if somebody wanted to talk about MMA because it's a form of fighting that branched off from all this. Did y'all hear about that? It was an MMA fighter. He came in, did a couple spots in WWE before back in the day. With Brock Lesnar. He was, I can't remember his name offhand, but he got arrested, I think it was yesterday, for attempted murder.
Oh, Cain Velasquez. Yep.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Cain Velasquez.
I heard that.
Yeah, I heard about that. I didn't see the story, but I heard about it. I saw a picture of it. It was Cain Velasquez that came in. He had that big fight with Brock Lesnar. Attempted murder.
Well, okay, him and Aaron Hernandez. There we go. We got our fighting murders. But I mean, kind of a nice little wrap up point then of murder in the evening.
That's what I don't get. So like, I'm not a big horror fan, right? But I do watch horrors every once in a while, or a zombie. I watch zombie and I'll stay up like freaking out because I feel like every little crack something's gonna happen. But yeah, if you're like me and like you guys, we'll sit there and watch the 5-part of like Ted Bundy or something, just this murderous serial killer, and you sleep like it's nothing.
Yeah, serial killer. I was kind of I'm with you though. I could watch. No, mine is I could watch like all the Freddy movies, but you turn on America's Most Wanted when they used to do FBI's Most Wanted every Saturday night at 8 p.m. Central. Remember that when they go through the top 10 FBI's Most Wanted? That scared the shit out of me every weekend.
Yeah. Got you looking at your blinds, make sure I ain't your neighbor, Make sure.
Hell yeah, it was. And especially when they would ever say, you got to ever say, if they ever say like around where you were, be like, he was spotted last time somewhere around like the Missouri, Illinois area. Spider-Man, you're like, oh God, he's here.
I hate
Lock
that,
the
like,
doors.
every once in a while we'll get something. So and so got out of the state prison because there's a big old state prison like 100 miles, not 100 miles, but like 50 miles out of town or something. So and so got out of state prison. You're like, oh fuck, I gotta stay home now because there's a big old manhunt. I can't no. But that's the thing. Like, I can watch a zombie movie and get a little freaked out and not fall asleep, thinking there's gonna be a zombie, which is not. But yet, sit there, watch a serial killer whole series, binge it for like the whole day, and sleep like a baby.
It's like that around here. A while back, there was a guy escaped from the federal pen over here. So when I got this big shirt that I get off work. My shirt says big letters correction. So I'm take that off before I leave the facility. Take that.
Yeah. So okay. Well, I'm off of the little tangent of killing people. There has been murder in WWE, which on that's actually our topic for next week. There we go. We are going to figure out murder in wrestling in general. Let's figure out the murder in wrestling. How does that sound, fellas? Murder.
Let's do it.
Murder.
The one that is very infamous, that's been talked forever, and it's on that dark side of wrestling, the Bruiser Brody one. Oh.
I don't know.
He was down in South America and he got stabbed in his shower.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I remember hearing that on some damn podcast. Yeah.
Tony Atlas was there.
Didn't some dude fall from some rafters as well?
I think was Owen Hart.
Yeah.
Owen Hart. Yeah, I knew some dude fell from rafters. But okay.
Well, how about that? We'll next
TV
week
as
is
well.
tragedies in wrestling.
Yes, tragedies. Well,
all right. Thank y'all for joining us today. This is